Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have your Bitcoin / cryptocurrency update for January the 16th. So before I jump into the content for this video, please do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click that bell icon to get notifications when I release new updates. So what's going on with the market? Well, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about this run up to $8,900 and what I think is coming next. So the first chart that I want to take a look at today is actually going to be a weekly chart, and then we're going to kind of go into the smaller time frames. So what I've done is I've got a weekly chart here. I've got the 21-week moving average, and the reason I got the 21 is because while my friend likes to use the 19 and while I think the 19 is more relevant, most people seem to think the 21 is the one that matters. So we're going to use the 21. We can use the 19 too. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to use the 21 to go along to get along. Okay? I've taken off the 200 moving average and the 50 because those are weekly averages, and we want to look at this 21 because it's, support or resistance. Again, I like the 19 better, but we're going to use 21. Okay. So essentially what I've thought all along during this pump is that this is a repeat of this summer of 2018 pump. When this pump in October happened, I was telling people it looked like the February pump, right? This February pump that pumped up here ended up being correct. It's exactly what October was. And now I think we've moved on to the summer pump. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, there was a pump in between there. There was a pump in between there. I just didn't see any similarities that really looked like, a good fractal, okay? So on the weekly chart, here's what I'm seeing. In 2018, this thing ran up and basically busted through this 21-week moving average, which a lot of people were using as a bull signal. A lot of people were assuming that if it broke above the 21 that we would be back in a bull market. It also broke above its diagonal, which was very, very convincing. We all thought, well, I'm sure not everybody, but us new people and a lot of the perma bulls, we all thought that the bull market was kicking off and we got trapped. Okay, if we look at what's happening so far this week, and of course it's only Thursday, so we have 3 days left, and a lot can happen in 3 days. But so far we have busted through that 21-week moving average. Nothing's going to change that. We've busted through for sure. Whether we close above it or below it, we don't know yet. Okay, the size of this pump back in 2018 was a little larger than the pump we've seen so far. It was about 47% versus about 38%. Okay, I'm going to remove those just because it makes it hard to see, but they are similar in size. On the RSI, we're still inside of the bear market RSI zone. Okay, we came up on the summer of 2018. This thing actually closed right around 51.5. Right now we're sitting at 53.3. Yesterday we were actually a bit higher. We were touching the top of the box. Okay, so again, we have to wait for the week to close to see where this looks like, but entirely possible this thing closes just a tad bit lower than where it is, that we're going to get a very similar RSI to back here. And even if it closes a little higher, not a big deal, still inside the box. Okay, so it's entirely possible that next week's going to be a red candle. Why would next week be a red candle? Well, who knows? But if we're going by just very, very simple comparisons, if you look at the bear market, not once have we put in more than 2 green candles in a row. We put in 2 back in July and August. We put in 2 in a row in November and December, and now we've put in 1 so far in January, and this looks like it will probably close, we don't know, in 3 days as a green candle. If we put in a third green candle, I think that's pretty safe to say we're probably out of the bear market and the bottom is probably in. Okay, because we haven't done that this whole downtrend. We're sitting at very important levels of resistance, and if we just keep chopping through those, closing above this 21-week moving average, another green candle would pump us outside of the bear market RSI. I think we'd have to concede that the bulls have won this battle. Okay, so that's what I'm watching on the weekly chart. Now, if we zoom in and take a look at the daily chart, 3-day chart, this is the 3-day chart, okay? And again, if we look at RSI, this was the one time in 2018 that it broke north of our RSI, our bear market box, if you will, that I've drawn up. And it got all the way up to about 59.2. Now, yesterday was the close of a 3-day candle, and it closed at 60.7. So it was a smidge higher, which is fine. So far, we have no idea what this 3-day candle is going to do. It's only about 13 hours old, okay? But you see how it's starting to turn back down? That's what I want to see as a bear. What I don't want to see as a bear is that to turn back up and put in another higher high, okay? Don't want that. Want it to turn down, want this to be a red candle. Now, a couple things are going to happen if that's a red candle. Number one, obviously it will mean that we basically tagged our golden pocket, right? We didn't quite get there. It's 89.70 on this chart, but we did get there on the Binance chart. So, you know, take it for what you will, grain of salt or whatever. But essentially, you can see the same thing happened back here in the summer of 2018. We basically came up to the golden pocket and then just kaboom, right? The bottom fell out. So that's what we're looking at. You know, same type of deal here. We've come up right around that golden pocket area. And I think that, you know, it's looking good for bears. I kind of feel good about being a bear right now. A little bit apprehensive, right? Certainly not near as confident as I've been in these past pumps, but feel pretty good about it overall. I haven't started to panic just yet. Okay, so we're sitting at the golden pocket. We saw the similarities on the weekly chart. We're seeing the similarities in the 3-day RSI. We're seeing the similarities in the golden pocket stuff. If we measure this, if we take a date range and we measure it, I'm going to have to get rid of the golden pocket stuff because it's the Fibonacci levels because it makes it hard to see. But if we measure this from this high back here in May to the high in June, the one that faked so many people out, July, it was roughly 27 bars on a 3-day chart. If we measure it from the pump in October to our current spot on the chart, our current high was 80, let's see, this was 50 here, so this was 8,900 was a high. See that? 80 days. It's exactly the same. Are you catching it? 27 bars from high to high, 27 bars from high to high. So the similarities aren't just in the RSI. They're not just in the Fibonacci levels. They're also in the amount of time from peak to peak. But it gets better. If we measure the amount of time that it took from the high in 2017 to this fake pump in July, it was 74 bars. If we measure the amount of time that it's taken from the pump in June of 2019 until this high, it was 68 bars. Not exact like the last one, but pretty darn close, right? So I'm not saying that this is guaranteed to happen because nothing is ever guaranteed, but I do find it a little bit odd that so many bulls are getting so arrogant that they're completely ignoring this. And I'm not offended by it. More power to them. I'll trade my way, they'll trade their way. The market will tell us who is right. But what I have a problem with is I hate seeing people who would otherwise be waiting and be patient get so scared that they FOMO in because of these people who are just, you know, so certain that the bottom is in. Let me give you guys a quick tip about trading. Never be certain about anything, okay? Because this market and all markets have a nasty habit of making us all look like idiots in the end, right? There's always going to be something where we think we know what's happening and the market's going to dump us right on our head and say, not today, boy. Not happening, right? So I just think it's a bad idea to completely ignore this. Right now, I think the bulls have the momentum, okay? I think anybody arguing that the bulls don't have the momentum, maybe they're a little too bearish, okay? I do see a lot of momentum for the bulls. I do see that they have a legitimate stake or a legitimate claim that the bottom is in. I don't agree with them, but I definitely see that side of the coin. I think that this is a repeat of 2018. I think this fractal is going to play out. So we just looked at the weekly. We saw the similarities. We just looked at 3-day. We saw the similarities, the time, the RSI, the Fibonacci levels, all that stuff. Let's look at the daily. So we're going to take this RSI off. Actually, no, we'll leave the RSI on. We're going to need it for a second. And we're going to take the Fibonacci levels off and the time off because we already know they're similar. We don't need to go over that a second time. Okay, get rid of all this stuff. All right, so on the left-hand side is 2018. On the right-hand side is current day. All right. So what we had in 2018, I think I talked about this yesterday, so I'm going to go over this quickly. In 2018, we had the triple divergence, the triple hidden divergence, right? Started back here in March, went up in April, and then finally peaked out in July, right? Series of higher highs in RSI, while at the same time price was making a series of lower highs. Okay, we have that, fine. In 2019 and 2020, we have the exact same thing. Hidden divergence making a series of higher highs, while the price is making a series of lower highs. Now, this is confirmed, okay? This is not, well, I should rephrase that. It was confirmed back here. It could be a fake out. This could actually pump up today and invalidate it. So it's not really confirmed. So I need to back up on that. But if it confirms today, that we're going to have basically the same thing we had in 2018. So yet another similarity. If you look, the pump in 2018 came up and tested the 200-day moving average from the underside. If you look, the pump so far in 2020 has come up and tested the 200-day moving average from the underside. So the similarities are stacking up. Let's get rid of RSI. Let's get rid of the 200-day moving average. And is there anything else that we can look at and say, you know what, that looks an awful lot like what's happening today? Uh-oh. Are you seeing it yet? What's this pattern right here? Anybody know? Does it kind of sort of look like this right here? Yeah, that is a left shoulder. That is a head, and that is a right shoulder. This is a textbook head and shoulders. What's this? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And by the way, these are inverse head and shoulders, not regular head and shoulders. And zoom out. What do we have? Oh my goodness, look at that. What happened after the head and shoulders in 2018? It pumped. It pumped in 2020. It consolidated. It consolidated. It pumped. It pumped. It consolidated, starting to consolidate, and then it dumped. What's next? I don't know. I don't know what's next. All I know is this looks identical to 2018. This is probably the craziest fractal I have ever seen. It's similar on the weekly, it's similar on the 3-day, it's similar on the daily. It has the same chart pattern, it has the same Fibonacci levels, has the same timelines. It has the same retest of the 200-day moving average, on and on and on, right? This is a crazy fractal. So again, does not guarantee that it's going to go down. What it means is if you're a bull, you need to be aware of this fractal and you need to be using proper risk management. You should always be using proper risk management, period. Okay? I saw people on Twitter yesterday talking about, oh, if it gets here, I'm going all in. Listen to me very carefully. No real trader will ever go all in on any trade, okay? Because risk management says you should never put yourself in a position where if you're wrong, you lose the ability to trade the next day. So if you go all in, especially like some of these people are, talking about doing with leverage, you can't possibly use proper risk management, right? You can't do it. Even if you're an aggressive trader, most people would say that 5% risk is the most you should take. So if you're going all in, let's say you're using 10x leverage, you're going to have a 0.5% stop loss. It's not going to work, right? Just crazy. But anyway, that's the fractal. That's what I'm watching, guys. If you weren't, aware of this, hopefully this, opens your eyes because this is some pretty crazy stuff. So let's talk a little bit about altcoins. All right, so here's a BSV chart. I'm going to leave volume on there. I need it for this. We're going to talk about what happened yesterday with BSV. First of all, I'm not a BSV fan. I'm not a BSV hater. I know nothing about the coin. I will say I was very frustrated. I tried to trade this yesterday. I sent some more of the BSV I had over to Bittrex. Yeah, I had it on Coinbase because that's where my Bitcoin Cash was when it forked. So I had all this over there, but Coinbase won't let you trade it. So I sent it to Bittrex about 5:40 or 5:45 in the afternoon. I wanted to sell it if the daily close looked bad. It took over 4 freaking hours before it confirmed over on Bittrex. I was so pissed off, right? I waited 4 hours, and then by the time it got there, it was down like 11%. So I just said, whatever, and I went to bed. But if one of you know what's up with BSV taking so long, I'd love to learn more about it. I'm ignorant about it. I know nothing about it. I'm not claiming to know anything about it. I don't know about the technology behind the stuff. I just know charts, okay? But if somebody can explain to me and everybody keeps saying it's the confirmations. It's not the confirmations, okay? I understand that the sites make you do 20 confirmations instead of like 6 confirmations on Bitcoin. I get that. It's going to take longer, more confirmations. What I don't get is sometimes I waited for an entire hour for one confirmation. And unless I'm just completely misunderstanding the blockchain, that's 100% on the blockchain itself, how long it takes to confirm, not on the exchange. So if somebody could help me out with that, I'd appreciate it. All right, so this is what I saw. This is why I wanted to get out of BSV yesterday. I thought, I'll probably move out of that alt position and then pick it back up a little bit lower. Because, again, it's a free position. I got the coins for free from a fork. So I don't mind buying them back, right? I'm just trying to lower my cost average from free to negative money. But what I saw was this pumped up, and this was a beautiful head and shoulders, right? This even got confirmed with volume, right? Maybe not perfect volume because this pump was pretty good. But basically what you want to see with the head and shoulders is you want to see high volume on the left shoulder. You typically want to see lower volume on the middle pump. And then you want to see increased selling volume on the right shoulder. Okay, that's a very simplistic. Sorry, I got a catch in my throat. That's a very simplistic view of a head and shoulders. But this looked pretty negative to me, so I wanted to get out. Again, I missed it because it dumped while I was waiting. But, it is what it is. Where was I trying to get out at? I was trying to get out at... It would have been 1600, right? I was trying to get out on this red candle. It was up near the top of this red candle when I transferred it, and by the time I went to bed, it was down here, so I just gave up. Which is good because it put in a W. Look at this. W, hello, right? What I've watched on this one, just watch and see what happens if it comes down and tests the neckline, right? This neckline is sitting right here at $300 basically. See if it finds support there. If it bounces off it might have more upside. If we look at EOS, I was really sad yesterday on EOS. This thing got destroyed. EOS is one of the coins. It probably makes up a pretty, well, I don't know exactly, but it makes up a good percentage of the altcoins, the shit coins that I'm holding from a few years ago. So you can see I'd already drawn it out. I was like, oh man, it fell 13%, which was 54 cents per EOS, and I've got like 1,000 or 1,100 EOS, so it's like $500 or $600 just watching it disintegrate, right? Paper gains, not the same thing as realized gains. And I pretty much figured it would pull back, right? That's just what it does. That's why it's so important to take profits if you're in a position, right? Now, this is a little bit different. These are basically, long-term investments, gamble coins, whatever you want to call them. So I wasn't looking to take profits. But I was watching it, right? If it had put in any really good divergences, I probably would have sold it and bought it back a little cheaper. But it didn't. Right, when I was looking at the 4 hour, it never put any divergences, so I didn't want to get in the way of the train. And basically what I've got drawn up here is this red line up here is where it stopped at. It was basically the highs from back here. But this red line down here was actually old resistance that it busted through. So it's flipped to support. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to get too greedy on profit taking, right? It's entirely possible it's going to find more upside. It looks unlikely, right? It's so overextended on the daily. But who knows, right? If we draw a trend on this thing, if we draw a little bit of a bigger trend target, take the log chart off and just do something like this. It looks like, oh wow, I didn't do this before the video. That's kind of cool. So it looks like it hit the 3 level perfectly and pulled back to the 2 level. Look at that, bam, bam, right? Little pinball action. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for EOS. I think it could go either way. If I was not in a position, I probably wouldn't be interested in longing it. I don't like longing overbought assets. But if I, I am holding a position, I'm probably not going to sell it. If Bitcoin does what I think it's going to do and it dumps, I think EOS is going to get murdered along with all the other alts. I think this is going to end up being one huge bull trap on the altcoins. And I'm prepared for it. It's tough. It's tough sometimes because you're like, man, it is money. Free position or not, you don't want to take a big hit, and I think I am going to take a big hit, but just trying to play it a little safe, trying to hedge a little bit. I think if anything's going to have a big run, I think the alts are overdue for it. So if they go down, they go down, right? If they go down, I'll lose a little bit of money, and I'll move on. Okay, Litecoin ran into resistance up around this level. I was watching it. If it could have got above that level, I would have been interested in looking for some type of pullback to long it. It didn't get through that level, so I'm not really looking to long this right now. It looks like a lower high. You can see it's very clear on a line chart. Right here is the highs over here with the double top. Now we've put in a lower high. It could turn up and go up, right? Sure, for sure. But right now it just looks like a mega pump, a mega dead cat bounce, okay, which is what all the alts had so far. So I'm not interested in longing Litecoin. What do we got on Ethereum? Let me back up, actually. I need to back up on this. Look, on the weekly stuff, guys, on the weekly chart, this is still a downtrend. But I want to keep an eye on it because on the daily it's not, right? Look at this. Really back here was consolidation, but here you had a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher, oops, clicked off my thing, higher low, higher high. So if this comes down and, like, for example, finds support around 50, 52 bucks, somewhere in that ballpark, it could be putting in a higher low and it could keep going up. And if it does, guess what? Well, then when you switch over to a weekly, that would be a higher high. You see, and one of the guys on Twitter that I actually used to kind of butt heads with, but we've kind of found a happy ground now. You know, he pointed this out the other day. He's absolutely correct. You see trend changes on the smaller time frames before you see them on the bigger ones. You're going to see a trend change on the daily normally before you see it on the weekly, right? You just have to decide, is this an uptrend inside a downtrend, or is this the uptrend that's going to end up being, you know, breaking out of the downtrend? And so you do have to, you know, be mindful of that. Just because it's not a higher high on the weekly, it could absolutely end up being another higher low on the daily and then punch in the next higher high on the weekly next week, right? Or this week, we don't know. Okay, so I do want to point that out. I think it's really important to understand. Let me get rid of all this stuff here. If we look at the monthly chart on Litecoin, the monthly doesn't tell us as much. I still think this is a level I'd watch, right? That right around that 60 bucks, 58 bucks would be the monthly high. If it eclipses that, I think that it's probably going to be ready for a bull run. Okay, Ethereum actually looked really bad, and this is the funny thing about Ethereum. People were getting super excited about Ethereum, and of all the altcoins, this is the one that I was least excited about, right? Even though it pumped up, I said it might go to 160, it went all the way up to 172. That was all good and dandy, but the thing is Ethereum was really beat up, right? It was not having these rallies like a lot of other coins. If you draw the Fibonacci levels, right, this first little thing didn't even make it to the 38, right? As we keep going down here, we never got to the 50 level on the Fibs. We never got to the 61.8 golden zone. We got up to the 38.2 right here, right? But essentially, this thing has just been moving down and been unable to find any type of support this whole way. Even when it did pump, they were small pumps. They weren't, you know, the pumps that were going back up and testing that 50 fib and that 61.8 fib. So essentially what this did, if we put this on a, well, we'll leave it on a candlestick chart. This was the old support, which of course, once you break south of it, flips to resistance. Do you see what happened? It was a very cliche retest of this old resistance, this old support that flipped resistance. That's not bullish, guys. That's not bullish at all. That's bearish, right? That is a staircase pattern. You come up and test the old lows with your new highs, okay? I didn't draw that very well. Like this, okay? You go down, and this is your old low, so your old new high comes up and tests it, and then goes down, right? That's exactly what it did, okay? Down, up, bam, right? So you would expect more downside if you're just looking at the price action and nothing else. If we start adding in, you know, the RSI, and we start looking at like a daily RSI, well, it looks even worse, right? Now we're looking at a daily candlestick chart. This is basically a doji candle, right? Which is not a reversal signal, contrary to popular belief. A lot of people say it's a reversal. It's not. It's a neutral candle, right? You can Google it. It's neutral. What it means is there's indecision in the market. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish. It just means that there's indecision in the market. What really matters is the candle after that. If the next candle is green, it means that the bulls went ahead and picked up the slack, and you know it's a bullish signal. If the next candle is red, it means that the bears took control, and that's a bearish signal. So far, it's red, but you know there's 11 hours or 10 and a half hours left in the day. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 hours. A lot can change. Me personally, I lean toward this thing going back down. Okay, like most of these alts. So if I draw the trend extensions from the bottom here, we're going to use a non-log version because that's a shorter time frame, and we'll just draw it like this, and it looks like basically it came up, you know, broke through the 2. I don't know that these matter a whole lot, right? They're not giving me a whole lot of information. They were good through here, but I don't know, right? I don't care too much about the trend extensions on this, and I'm not throwing them out the window like, oh, they don't fit my bias. I'm just saying that they're not telling me anything, right? These candles closed way up here in no man's, or excuse me, wicked out in no man's land, right? They didn't close it or wick out at an exact level or anything. This one might be finding support here, but I think it's. I don't think it gives me enough information. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at here. So what I do in a case like that is I just stay the hell out of the way and wait for it to give me more information. Okay, and I'm holding a little bit of Ethereum. I mined Ethereum. I sold the Ethereum that I mined in 2017, but I didn't sell the Ethereum I mined in 2018. So, when I'm talking about this stuff and I'm bearish, it doesn't suit me. It's not because I'm biased, like, oh, I hope it goes down to buy more. I hope shit goes up. I want to sell it, right? I'm tired of holding coins that are down 90%. Even though, like the EOS, I had a free position, my Ethereum is not a free position. In fact, the damn thing cost me a fortune, right? I was spending hundreds of dollars, well, my utility bill was about $1,200 a month, right, to mine Ethereum and Zcash. So I spent a fortune mining those coins, and my cost average is absolute garbage on them, right? I'm way underwater. My average cost to mine the Zcash I'm holding, it's like $300 or $350 a coin, right? My average cost on the Ethereum, same thing. It's up in the hundreds of dollars. I don't know the exact point, but I know it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, I'm not bearish because it suits me. I want to be bullish. I want them to go up. I want to get out of those positions. It sucks. And being underwater for, going on 2 years. Well, it is 2 years because I stopped mining in early 2018, right? I've been underwater for almost 2 years on those damn things. It sucks. If we look at Bitcoin dominance, of course, took that massive slide, lost its 200-day moving average, and it's been unable to move back up. It's just consolidating here. After a big move like that with consolidation, a lot of times you get further downside, which in the case of alts would be a good thing, But all this means is alts are going to gain ground on Bitcoin if it slides more. It doesn't mean they're going to gain ground in US dollar value. If Bitcoin's, taking a dump, falling out of bed, it could just mean that alts don't fall as much, right? So I don't know if this really matters that much. It matters more if you are trying to decide whether or not you want to hold Bitcoin or hold alts, right? I think you need to take this into consideration. What do we got? Anything else I'm missing here? I don't even know what the price of Bitcoin is right now. Let's pull up a 5-minute chart real quick and just take a quick look at Bitcoin. I'm going to get rid of the RSI. Oh, I want to show you guys something. Sometimes you do stuff that's so stupid and you look back in hindsight and you're like, how did I miss this? What was going on in my brain? And I think for me personally, I haven't decided for sure, but I'm leaning toward deleting my Twitter account. I really am. I don't want to delete it because I want to be there and I want to try to be like a voice of reason, but I'm losing so much money over Twitter. I didn't long this over here on a big play. I took a scalp on it. And if I'm being totally honest, and this is really embarrassing to admit, but I'm going to admit it. It's my fault. I'm not blaming anybody else. But basically what happened when this came down, there was a guy that I have a lot of respect for. He's a Wall Street trader. He's got years of experience. He's also a Bitcoin trader. And he was super bearish right here. It affected my decision making. I wanted to long this, but I got scared because he was so bearish. And I thought, he probably knows more than me. And this is something that I'm pretty good about with most traders, like most CT, like crypto Twitter traders. I'm like, well, whatever, they don't know what they're doing. But this guy knows what he's doing. He's legit, right? But like anybody, he makes mistakes. And he was the main reason that I got scared and decided not to hold that position. And you get on Twitter, and I tell my wife this all the time. I say, I get on there and I tell myself I'm not going to get influenced. But it's like poison. It just seeps into your brain. All these other people's ideas start, influencing you, and you start second guessing decisions. And when I look back at this, I just don't know how that possibly happened. So I'm going to show you this. This was a 4-hour RSI, right? It had basically this upward sloping trend line. You had a perfect touch right here. You also had this inverse head and shoulders going on. You also had this beautiful hammer candle right here. It came down, put in this hammer candle with this nice tail on it. That was a reversal signal. I mean, even if I was, scared to death, and the thing is, I did long it, but I just scalped it, right? I should have put in a trailing stop and just stayed in the position, right? I should have just put my stop and break even, stayed in it as long as the trend went up. I was telling you guys that I thought I was going 80, 100, but then I chickened out and didn't stay in the trade, right? Just so sickening, right? Looking back at that. And again, it came down, and I'm not going to name the person because it's not their fault. It's my fault. But I'm telling you this because whether you realize it or not, when you're watching YouTube videos and you're watching, posts on Twitter or Facebook, it's influencing you. Even if you think, no, it's not, I'm sticking to my plan, it seeps in there and it just like wiggles its way into your brain like a little worm, right? And then you start making bad decisions, right? I absolutely should have longed this. Downtrend or not, this was a beautiful place to go long. I did long it, and then I chickened out, right? And that cost me more money than I care to admit, okay? Moral of the story, trust yourself over somebody else. You don't even know. And again, I'm not knocking this person. They took the trade. They admitted that they were wrong. They lost money on it. More kudos to them, right? But you don't know what somebody else's trade plan is. You don't know what their risk management is. You don't know anything about them, right? And in that person's case, he's holding a ton of spot Bitcoin, right? So he was wrong on a day trade or a swing trade, but he still got his spot. So he still made a bunch of money on his pump. I don't have my spot. So not only did I not make money on the pump with my spot Bitcoin, I didn't take a swing trade. And I didn't make money there either. So just be careful, right, about letting other people influence your plans. And if you can't stick to your own plan because you're influenced easily, like apparently I am, right, then it's probably better just to avoid social media, okay? I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on it. But I do know that I figured it up the other day with my wife. And we looked at all the calls that I made on my YouTube and trades that I said I was going to take, but then I got influenced by other people and changed my mind. Again, this is on me, not them. You have to stick to your own plan. And the difference in 2019 was about $90,000. That's the difference in what I would have made, like an additional $90,000 over what I did make on trades that I called them correctly and then didn't take the trade, right? So if you're like me, be aware of it because that's a very expensive thing, right? I got on Twitter to try to build a Twitter following so I could sell my software, which is, was the plan all along, was to be a software guy, right? That's what I did. And then, I ended up being a trader instead. And I don't even know why I'm on Twitter anymore, to be honest with you. I probably shouldn't be, okay? But that's kind of what I'm saying. That's the big picture stuff. I just think right now I'm going to continue watching this and see what happens. Wait a minute, I said I was going to look at a 5-minute chart. Did I even do it? I didn't, did I? Jeez Louise. I started looking at that 4-hour thing and started rambling. Sorry. Let me find the chart again. So what happened overnight while I slept? They put in a W, right? Right down here. This is a W. Kind of like BSV did. And its neckline was at 8,700. So it's already fallen back under the neckline. So that W is basically doesn't look like it's going to work out. This just looks like consolidation to me on the smaller time frame, right? Consolidations after a big up move, more often than not, end up being distribution, okay? But we don't know yet. We still have this trend line that's sloping up from, 6,800. We haven't broke south of it. I think that's a trend line that I'm going to want to watch. If it pulls back to it and finds support, right, it could be a case if it's time to buy the dip. I don't know. We have to wait and see. The trend line that I was watching yesterday that did get busted was this one right here. Right, busted down through it and came up for retest and then further downside. So that was a very steep angle. I expected it to break, and that's what it did. But it didn't drop as much as I thought it would. I thought I'd wake up to $8,500 Bitcoin, to be honest. So it's interesting, right? It's not dropping. It's just kind of consolidating, and I'll wait and see what happens. If we look at the hourly RSI, this almost looks like it broke above it and that it's coming down for a bullish retest, okay? Is it? I don't know, right? I really don't know. What I will say is volume's pretty low here, okay? When volume's low like that, it's a lot easier for a big player to manipulate the market and to make the market move, right? It takes a lot less money to do so, so be interesting. If it breaks back south of this, I'd say that we're probably going to go down and test the trend line at least. But if it stays on top of it, it might have more upside in it. So that's the hourly chart. Again, the 4-hour chart. If we look at it, we have this upward sloping line right here. Oh, look at that, right? Bam, support. Bam, support. We're not hitting support on price, but right there we're hitting support on the RSI. So again, that's another sign that I don't want to get into a position. I'm going to try to get this a little bit more exact. I don't want to get into a position on this right now, especially a short position, because it's sitting on top of support. I don't short support. Okay, I don't want to long it because I think it's overbought and I think it's due for a pullback, either a dump or an actual pullback, a dip, so to speak, before more upside. But I don't want to short support. Okay, it's a mistake a lot of people make. They see this stuff consolidating, they're like, oh, it's probably going down, I'll just short it. Well, you're gambling. You're guessing. You think it might go down, so you're going to guess that it's going to go down, right? I want to wait until it's underneath these lines and stuff, and then I can kind of make my play. Overall, guys, I'm interested in this fractal. This is what I'm really, really watching. I'm going to watch this fractal. I'm going to watch it play out, and either I want to watch it invalidate and say, okay, it's time to go bullish, or I want to watch it repeat, hopefully repeat, lose thousands and thousands of dollars on my altcoins, yay! But have a chance to buy my spot Bitcoin back cheaper, and also have a chance to watch my calls from earlier in the year play out, because that's kind of something that apparently people are pinning to me, right? I had somebody the other day say that they're saving it, I guess, so they can come back and laugh at me if it doesn't happen. It's kind of petty, right? It's got to be more to life than looking for ways to make fun of people, especially when I've said many times that they're just plausible, right? That I have to change with the market. And I'm not going back on those calls. I still think they're good. I still think 1K is plausible if we see a 2015 type of scenario. I still think that 4K is very plausible, that we need to fill in the liquidity gap. So I'm not like backtracking and saying, oh no, I didn't say it. I absolutely said it. And I still think they're plausible scenarios, right? I still don't think the bottom is in. I'm a little less sure than I have been in the past, because the main thing is this consolidation, right? I don't like the fact that it consolidated for 6 weeks. But we'll just have to wait and see. Either I'm right or I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, it's cool. I'll flip bullish. I'll get in on the trend, and I'll still make money. And this is a lesson I do want to leave you with, and then I'll wrap up. It is better to be late to a trend than early to a trend, okay? And I don't mean late, so late that you miss the whole trend, but it's better to be a little later, right? Confirm the trend and ride that thing as far as you can, than it is to be early. Because if you're early to a trend, right, and you're longing this thing and it dumps, you lose money, okay? If I wait until this says, hey, it's definitely an uptrend, and then I get in, I won't lose money. I'll make money. I'll still get to ride the trend, right? That's a very important thing. People, they're so obsessed with catching the freaking bottom. You're not going to do it, right? You're not going to do it. Once in a while, you might get lucky, and catch the bottom. I'm sure somebody caught this $6,400, right? I was watching it with a close eye. I didn't have the guts to take it. Fine. Somebody probably did. That's wonderful, right? But for the one person that caught this bottom, 99 others caught all these falling knives, okay? And for the people that caught the $3,200 bottom, there were people like me that were catching all these falling knives all through 2018 before I learned you don't chase bottoms. William Gann, one of his rules is, you don't chase bottoms, okay? So for the crypto Twitter universe to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to guess the bottom. Okay, well, good for you. You're guessing the bottom because you've been trading for 2 years. Meanwhile, William Gann, one of the most respected traders of all time, says that you shouldn't chase bottoms. I think I'll listen to him. Okay? You do your thing. I'll do the William Gann thing. All right? With all that being said, guys, please remember that me personally, I'm not William Gann. I'm some dude sitting in a spare bedroom. So nothing in this video is financial advice. Nothing in this video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click that bell icon to get notifications. And don't forget, you can check the description for links where you can follow me on TradingView, Twitter, for now at least, where you can join my free Facebook group, and also where you can join my trading course if you'd like to learn how to trade. By the way, the trading course nearly finished. Finally, the broken neck thing kind of sidetracked it, but I do nearly have it finished, and I will get a video knocked out sometime over the next week showing you guys what's inside. And just a heads up, the trading course is aimed at beginners. So if you're worried I'm a beginner, is it for me? Yes, it's for you, right? I've only been trading 3 years. I don't think there's a lot I can teach somebody that's a veteran of the sport, okay? I'm more about teaching people how to get from A to Z, right? What did it take to get me from a guy that started with trading with $200 to a guy that's trading for a living, okay? That's the stuff that I'm focused on. With all that being said, guys, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the well wishes. Truly, I do, right? All the people saying you'll get better. Congratulations on your neck. Really appreciate you. Appreciate the thumbs up, appreciate the comments, and I appreciate the fact that you're giving me part of your time each day. So thank you very much. I hope you'll continue to do so. And as always, please trade safe.